Well, hello, hello, and thank you for tuning in to this introduction of 7 proven ways to manage disruptions with ease and get the results that you want. I'm Adriana Vela, creator of the Fix-My-Brain-Adriana series. Now, to set the stage a little bit, I want to clear up a few points. The first one is that this is not for people looking for a quick fix or an instant solution because no such thing exists. And if this is you, then I can't help you. And but it really is okay if you decide to just skip the rest of this presentation. Number two, my trainings employ a strategic combination of brain science, skills development, and art. Yes, I said art. And third, my goal is to provide valuable insights and inspire you to explore further how your brain works and how you can make it work for you. So, to get started, let me go ahead and look down here and share my screen, okay? So that we can get going with the presentation. Okay, great. So I trust that you can see my screen. Let me just make absolutely sure. Okay, yes. All right. Well, as I mentioned, I'm going to talk today about, several things, and mainly 3 main areas. The first is that I'll teach you one of the 7 techniques to manage disruptions, and this is where I will teach a little bit of the brain science, but don't worry, I'm not going to go deep on that. Two, I'll cover one of several mistakes that leaders make during crises. And lastly, I'm going to highlight 5 hard questions that you need to ask yourself. And the key importance thing here is that for you to learn that there's an importance of building your capacity to challenge your unexamined assumptions. So let's get going. What do I mean by disruptions? Well, disruptions are generally something that are like life events known to have a degree of negative impact on your emotional and cognitive health. And if you'll notice here from a 2017 study from DDI, they ranked them in terms of the percent negative impact that they have on you. So what's interesting is that when we add the work element to that, you'll notice that making a work transition ranked higher in the amount of negative impact than all other disruptions. So what do you think happens to the brain when multiple disruptions occur simultaneously, which is very realistic? Well, the effects are many, but among them include a significant reduction of your decision-making capacity, whether you realize it or not. And now let's add the pandemic disruption on top of that. And what I want you to do is realize that for millions of people, the fallout is unprecedented as it either triggered or compounded the effects of other life disruptions that may have already been going on. So where does that leave us? Well, it leaves us in a mental health crisis, which, by the way, was already high even before the pandemic. So what makes the situation worse is the stigma that is associated with mental health issues, because that is what keeps so many people from seeking help. And to that point, I want you to write this down, okay? We don't seek help because we are weak. We seek help because we want to remain strong. You see, mental illness is not a personal failure. The only failure is the way we have responded to people afflicted with mental health disorders. And that's one of the things that I help my clients walk through and know that this is not their fault, that it's normal and that a lot of people are suffering. So what is disruption fatigue? Well, disruption fatigue is really just another word for post-traumatic stress syndrome. So if you're wondering, well, what qualifies me to teach on this topic? I'm not going to go through this in detail, but I will say that for 3 decades, I've been an ardent observer of the effects of disruptive technologies and behavior trends in both Fortune 100 companies and startups. And today, typically, I work with companies and knowledge professionals who are frustrated by the rapid pace and magnitude of disruptive changes that block their success. With a specialty in brain science, I empower clients with proprietary systems and tools that help them regain their competitive edge. So, what I do is that I've synthesized my life's work into three simple and progressive steps where you learn to discover, design, and deploy your successful strategies that I help you create and which are tailored to your primary goals. So, for example, maybe you want to discover ways to stay ahead of shifting trends and anticipate disruptions. Or you could, maybe you want to design plans and practices to engage and lead your teams more effectively, even during challenging times. Or you may want to deploy strategies to increase your mental resiliency, adaptability, and agility. And these, by the way, are core to all of my trainings. So this system will make you more responsive, less reactive, and more future ready. So let's get now into the brain science part. And the question is social pain real pain? Well, our brains are hardwired with mechanisms to detect and predict patterns and to plan for the future. The brain frustrates when it can't do its job. So when we have situations where uncertainty is the only certainty, it is very stressful for us. And it is no wonder that our brains suffer. So the fact is that social pain is real pain. And this is evidenced by emerging studies that have shown that there is a distinct overlap between the brain's processing of social pain, social pain, which is the painful feelings of social rejection, exclusion, or loss, and that of physical pain. In this side-by-side brain scan, you can see both the side view and rear view of the neural regions that are activated during social pain, which is on the left, and physical pain, which is on the right. There is a lot of suffering out there, which is expressed in a million different types of ways because we're all different. And this is why I've dedicated myself to this. And in fact, my mission is to improve the human condition. And so if you want to manage disruptions, you need to understand the relationship between these 3 points. So please write this down. Point number 1, anxiety is fueled by stress and uncertainty. Number 2, fear is in turn fueled by anxiety. And number 3, indecision is the seedling of fear. So one of the 7 actionable techniques then is to objectively quantify your stress, and emphasis on objectively, which means this is not something you can do yourself. And what I use is a patented stress quotient tool, which allows you to distinguish between 17 subcategories of stress so that you can focus on those that really need the most attention. Now onto the mistakes that leaders make, especially during crisis. Well, there are several, but one of them that I'll talk to today is ineffective communication. And because that feeds a lot of stress in the workplace. So write this down. We unknowingly fall into a trap that is called the illusion of communication, in that you say things once and you think that they were heard, and that really is not the case. And coincidentally, it directly correlates with underdeveloped listening skills. So both of these are directly measurable with my neuroscience-backed diagnostic tools, which really show a lot of highlights and insights into individuals. But let me now jump into the 5 hard questions that you need to examine. The first one is, how do you show up during a crisis? You may want to think back to how you showed up during the pandemic crisis. And the fact is that people don't really know or train their brains to be responsive instead of reactive. So we end up being very reactive instead. And this falls back into what Socrates say, and he would promote the importance of knowing thyself, because most people don't know themselves as well as they think they do. So number two, in our increasingly disruptive world, you want to take heed on what Charles Darwin said. It is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the most responsive to change. And building radical adaptability is core to the trainings that I provide. Question number three, is there a strong leadership? I'm sorry, strong learning culture um, in your environment? You see, strong learning cultures have, based on study after study, they outperform the competition. When you are focused, you and your team can become even 46% more innovative, 37% more efficient, and 58% more agile. Question number four, have you examined your knowing doing gap? Now, the thing I want to stress here is that what I've noticed is the most highly intelligent people often have the biggest gaps because they misguidedly fail to understand or distinguish between knowing what's right and doing what's right, because knowing what's right is meaningless unless you actually do it. And the last question is, does your team trust you, and do you trust your team? Well, this one is extremely difficult to analyze because because of trust itself. How do you actually measure that? But one point that I do want to share here is that when leaders assume that trust is dependent entirely on the behavior of others, we fall short as leaders. And extensive surveys have shown from both employees and managers that there is a significant spread between the perception of trust and what actually defines it. Now, trust is critical for organizational health and need not be elusive. My team effectiveness programs helps teams and leaders achieve trust and regain harmony and productivity. And with that, our time is up. And I want to thank you again for sharing your time with me. I know it is valuable. And for those of you who either have questions, I will stay a bit longer here afterwards. But if you have questions or feedback, which I would love as far as how can I make this better, please reach out to me, and you can go and sign up for for notices on future events. And in there, you can also provide feedback, opinions, of suggestions as to what other topics, related topics, you would like to see covered in the future. Please just go to adrianavella.expert/FMBA Fix-My-Brain-Adriana -events. Thank you, and I look forward to connecting with you again.